What's up, family? My name is Maddie, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to just share a little bit of my heart story with you guys. I pray it encourages you and just helps you see that the Lord truly does have each of our hearts in His hand. So for my story, I kind of have to go way back. So starting when I was around 5 years old, I had these random episodes where I would lose consciousness and faint. And doctors said, you'll grow out of it. It's maybe blood sugar, protein. So throughout my, childhood years, I tried to do simple things like hydrate more and hoped that this would go away. But it continued to happen and began to happen with increasing frequency until in college, I was behind the wheel and by God's grace had not put the car into drive yet. But while the car was still in park and I was getting ready to drive, had an episode that lasted minutes long and was just not very pretty. And it caused me to say, okay, I can't live like this. Something needs to change. So that started an array of tests and scans and you name it. Like it feels like every possible specialist that I could have seen, I saw. And pretty much each person said, I don't really know what's going on with you. There's something not right, clearly, but we don't really know what's happening. And so that was a little bit scary in itself. But finally, a couple years later, I was sitting in a room, and I will never forget this moment. I had so my electrocardiologist was sitting in front of me, and I'm sitting on the table, and he has it feels like miles long of my heart rhythm, and he's just scrolling through, and he looks at me, and then he looks down, and he looks at me, and he says, I don't understand this, and I don't have an explanation, but you've been brought back to life a couple times. And in that moment, it was like the Holy Spirit's, it was terrifying, but at the same time, the Holy Spirit's presence was so tangible. And I knew, okay, Lord, you've got my heart. He acted truly like a defibrillator and brought me back time and time and time again. And so we decided something needed to be done medically. I was officially diagnosed with what's called sick sinus syndrome. So basically, my brain and heart weren't communicating well. My brain would tell my heart to slow down and to calm down, but it was almost like it would continue to dump water on a fire that was long burnt out. And so instead of just slowing down and calming down, my heart rate would stop. And it looked kind of like something out of a medical drama where you see the pretty heartbeat and then it just stops. And so in February of 2023, I had a surgery done, and the idea was that they would find the nerve at the brainstem that was not communicating well with the heart, and then they would burn it at the heart level. And I could share for an hour about all the things that the Lord taught me through that surgery, about just the way He created our hearts and our characters and the way the mind and the heart are connected. But I know Pastor AJ has preached and he needs every minute he can have, so we're going to keep going. The surgery was intense. It led to the cardiac ICU and to just months of, honestly, the scariest days of my life. But going into the year, when Pastor AJ presented this idea of Faith for 5, I decided I'm going to believe that through that hard thing, the Lord healed my heart. And so my big prayer was for heart healing and believing that maybe for the first year in my life, I would go without fainting. And so, praying through this, believing for heart healing. And then in May of 24, so last May, I had the worst episode I'd ever had. So I went unconscious for 5 minutes. I woke up, I didn't know where I was. I had thrown up all over myself. It was awful. And I remember sitting on the couch and talking with Pastor AJ and just saying, I'm so frustrated. I put on my Faith for 5 card that the Lord is going to heal my heart. And now it's almost like things are getting worse and I don't understand. And I'm hearing all these stories of people being healed and having, big faith. And I was like, I thought that this was going to be my year of heart healing. And Pastor AJ looked at me and he was like, Maddie, the fact that it's on your Faith for 5 card just makes me even more confident that the Lord is healing your heart. And I didn't fully understand it in the moment. I'm going to be honest, I was spiraling a little bit. I was supposed to start a new job in 2 weeks. And how am I supposed to hold children and help children if I can't even hold my own body up? And so I was afraid. But finally, a doctor said, okay, we need to get a pacemaker in you. And so they said, we're going to schedule a surgery to put a pacemaker in. And I said, God, I can't do this. I can't do another heart surgery. I'm still afraid from the last one. I remembered the physical and mental and emotional pain of being in the hospital bed for day after day after day after day. And I said, God, I don't know if I can do this, but I heard His still small whisper throughout the whole process leading up to the surgery. He just kept saying, "Take heart, Maddi, take heart. I have overcome sickness. I have overcome death. I have overcome disease." And so it was this piece of, okay, God, this is the next step and this is what you want me to do. And so I had the pacemaker put in. And what's kind of crazy is today, and I Googled it to make sure I was correct, is my 300th day without fainting. And so exactly 300 days ago was the last fainting episode I had. Since then, my heart has been beating consistently. I have been able to see how the Lord has continued to heal, both physically and mentally and emotionally, this heart that he put inside of me. I can say that through the Faith for 5 process, I learned a little bit more of what it means to trust in pain, even as the pathway between the head and the heart are rewired. And I'm going to be honest, the pathway is still being rewired. And so my prayer is that through my heart story, both physically and mentally, we can learn, and just people can be encouraged that the knowledge that's here can become heart truth here. And the Lord he can rework those pathways, and he can rewire and allow us to experience him on a different heart level. So yeah, I pray that God uses what I have shared to help heal, to help challenge, to help encourage, especially those that maybe feel like their heart is breaking. He is the master surgeon. He is the healer. He is the friend. And so I'm grateful that he holds my heart and all of your hearts in his hand and continues to keep us beating and breathing. I'm excited to see how God continues to use my story to maximize his glory. Thank you for letting me share.